So today we're going to talk a little bit about subtracting integers. And it's very different than adding integers. So for example, anytime I'm adding something, I know I'm putting two different things together to make a new total. So for example, 3 plus 4 makes 7. I know I have one part 3 and one part 4 to make 7. But when I subtract, I'm starting with a total and I'm taking from that total. So here I may have 9, and if I take 5 away, I need to know what's left. And I know that the only other part that would make sense here is a 4. So 9 minus 5 equals 4. This difference is going to be real important when we talk about integers, because anytime we have a subtraction sign, we know that we're going to take away. For a lot of integers, this can make sense. For example, if I'm doing something like 9 minus 5, I have 9, I'm taking away 5 pieces. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I know I just want to take 5 of them. This makes sense. So I have 9, I'm just taking 5 away, and I know I have 4. But it doesn't always make sense when we have negatives. For example, what if I had a negative 9, but I wanted to subtract negative 3? So think of it the same way. I have my same 9, but in this case, let me mark them just with the negative signs. And again, I want to take away 3 negatives. So it's not like it would really make a difference if this was just a positive 3. But in this case, I will have 9 negatives, and I want to take 3 negatives away. And I end up with negative 6. How can this work mathematically? Well, a lot of times kids just say, hey, keep, change, flip, where they're really thinking of additive inverse. So a lot of kids go and they change my subtraction to adding, and they do the inverse of negative 3 and get positive 3. And now we know we add a negative and a positive integer. Some things cancel out, and I also end up with negative 6 because I have way more than 6. I have way more negatives than positives. But let's look at, okay, so this wasn't too bad when they're both negative. I want to take away negatives. But what happens if my numbers don't seem to match? So for example, what if I have a 6 and I want to take away negative 2? What would this look like with counters? So here's positive 6, but I want to take away negatives 2. The problem is I don't have any negatives to take away. If I take these 2 away, I'm really taking away 2 positives. That would be a different problem. That would be 6 minus 2. But I really want to take away a negative 2. So in this case, we're going to do something called 0 pairs. I need this to equal 6. So what if I put in some negatives? But if I leave it like this, these 2 are going to cancel and I'm really going to have 4. So to balance it out, I'm going to also add 2 negatives. So it keeps it balanced. I'm having it all together. These guys would cancel out, so I still have 6. But by adding 0 pairs, this is equal to 0, a negative 1, a positive 1, and this is another 0, negative and positive 1, I still have my value of 6. But this allows me to take away 2 negatives, which tells me I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have a positive 8 left. If you're thinking of your additive inverse, this does work. 6 plus, I'm going to change this to positive 2, does equal 8. Let's try with a negative number. What if I have negative 3 minus 5? So I'm going to draw my negative 3. And I want to take away a positive 5. Remember, this is telling me what I'm going to take away, not a negative 5. It's telling me I'm going to take away a positive 5. If I wanted to do it the other way, it's very different. These 2 are different. This is negative 3 minus a negative 5. In this case, I have a negative 3 minus a positive 5. Again, I don't have any positives at all. So to keep it balanced, I would need 5 positives. But remember, I still want it to equal 3, so I have to also add 5 negatives. So these guys would all cancel out. I still have 3, even though I'm adding my 0 pairs. But this does allow me to take away 5 positives and leaves me altogether with 8 negatives. Negative 3 minus 5 gives me 8. If you're doing additive inverse, negative 3 plus, oh, this is going to turn into a negative 5 now, plus a negative 5, whoops, we got a sign here, is equal to negative 8. I apologize for that. That should be a negative 8 because I have 8 of them. If I have it this way, negative 3 minus negative 5, here's my negative 3. I don't have enough to take away 5 of these. I could take 3, but I would need 2 more. So here's the 2 more. Remember, let's add my 0 pairs. Now I can take 5 away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Leaving me with positive 2. Negative 3 minus 5 gives me positive 2. Additive inverse, add 5, also gives me a positive 2. So this is how it can work out with counters. If it still doesn't make sense, remember, when I'm taking away negatives, it makes sense that I want it less negative or it's going to move towards the positive. But we can talk about that in a future video when I use number lines.